But it turns out that there were, in fact, repeated requests from our staff, diplomatic staff and others, that were on site at the Benghazi consulate, and requests were made for military help. Military help was available, and these requests were denied multiple times. I mean, this is criminal behavior on the part of somebody. Heads ought to roll because people died. Heads should roll, probably starting with Hillary Clinton's. Heads should roll because people died. Here's an exclusive piece from Fox News from this morning, Jennifer Griffin, and I'll just read a little bit out of this because I want to be sure you get the exact straight scoop on this, because there's been a lot of fog of war, as Hillary Clinton put it, about what happened at Benghazi. And here's what Jennifer Griffin writes this morning. Fox News has learned from sources who were on the ground in Benghazi that an urgent request from the CIA annex, that's that safe house that they were supposed to be able to flee to, an urgent request from the CIA annex for military backup during the attack on the U.S. consulate and subsequent attack several hours later was denied by U.S. officials. It was denied. An urgent request, a life-saving request, a life and death emergency request came from the CIA annex for military backup while this assault on the consulate and the safe house was going on. And U.S. officials, now we're not told who those U.S. officials were, but remember, Hillary Clinton said, hey, I'm responsible here. I'm the one that's responsible for the safety of our diplomats. And then you've got Barack Obama saying, hey, Hillary Clinton works for me. I'm in charge here. I'm accountable. I'm the responsible one. The buck stops with me. So if justice were to be served, then whoever denied this request and whoever they reported to ought to be done. They ought to be cashiered, because 4 Americans are dead because they denied this urgent request for life-saving intervention. And these U.S. officials twice told the CIA operators that are at this safe house, at this annex, to stand down rather than help the ambassador when shots were heard at 9:40 p.m. in Benghazi, September 11th. So notice this. So you've got, and it turns out that Tyrone Woods and one of the other victims, his name is Doherty, Glenn Doherty, I believe, that they were at the CIA annex, this safe house that was less than 2 miles away. They hear the shots. They hear the call for help. They request military intervention because the consulate is under attack. And not only is the help denied, but they are told not to intervene. Don't you go and give them any help. These embassy staff, the consulate staff that were under attack. Here's how the story goes on. Former Navy SEAL Tyrone Woods was part of a small team who was at the CIA annex about a mile from the U.S. consulate where Ambassador Chris Stevens and his team came under attack. When he and others heard the shots fired, they informed their higher-ups at the annex to tell them what they were hearing and requested permission to go to the consulate and help out. They were told to stand down, according to sources familiar with the exchange. Soon after, they were told again to stand down. Now you've got Leon Panetta. I'm trying to restrain myself, ladies and gentlemen, because I am just absolutely furious with what our government did in this circumstance. Leon Panetta, this is a guy that's defense secretary. This guy doesn't know a thing. He doesn't know his left ear from second base when it comes to the military. And he said, hey, the reason we didn't intervene is we didn't have enough information about what was happening on the ground. That's his excuse. We had no real-time information on which to act. And then I'm looking at this story. You had CIA staff at the safe house calling for help, letting their supervisors know what was going on. that they were there, that they were ready to intervene, and it was urgent, that shots were being fired. The consulate was under attack. And we find out later that there were drones providing a visual feed to a whole raft of people back at the Pentagon. Anybody that had the proper clearance could see the video feed from these drones on their computers. So they had real-time information. They were listening to audio. Charlene Lamb, the deputy undersecretary, the one that looked just totally spaced out when she testified before Congress, she's the one that would not admit that 9/11 was an important date to Al-Qaeda and Muslims. She wouldn't admit it. Finally had to be forced to admit that that was a significant day for them. She is monitoring. She's hearing audio of this assault. And then Leon Panetta's out there saying, we did not have real-time information. This is not only a bald-faced lie, it is criminal negligence on his part because people died. Now, Tyrone Woods and at least 2 others ignored those orders and made their way to the consulate, which at that point was on fire. So Tyrone Woods and 2 others, they're at the safe house. They know that the consulate is under attack. They ask permission to go and help their fellow Americans who are in a life and death struggle for their existence, and they are told no. They are told to stand down. Don't go. Don't get involved. Don't help. So they just ignore the orders. Tyrone Woods says, I'm going. We got fellow Americans under attack. I'm going to help. The quick reaction from the CIA annex evacuated those who remained at the consulate and Sean Smith, who had been killed in the initial attack. So they were able to retrieve Sean Smith's body. They could not find the ambassador, and they returned to the CIA annex at about midnight. Remember, they couldn't find the ambassador's body. He died of smoke inhalation somewhere inside the consulate. It was dark in there. There was thick smoke, diesel fumes. He died. They could not find his body. So they go back to the CIA annex at midnight. At that point, they called again for military support and help because they were taking fire at the annex. Again, that's an indication of some kind of leak. This is supposed to be a safe house. This is the place you go when you got no other place to go. This is the place that nobody knows about but you. But somebody leaked. And this place was under mortar fire, this safe house, which is where they were at midnight. The request again was denied. So they asked for help when the consulate, this is hours before, 9:40, 2.5 hours before this, they'd asked for military help for the consulate was under attack. They were turned down. Now they themselves are under attack at the safe house. They ask for military support, and they are turned down again. Now, Jennifer Griffin says there were no communications problems at the annex. There wasn't anything wrong with the communication system, the equipment. The team was in constant radio contact with their headquarters. So when Leon Panetta says we had no real-time information, that is a criminally negligent, impeachable lie to the American people. In fact, at least one member of the team was on the roof of the annex manning a heavy machine gun when mortars were fired at the CIA compound. Now catch this, we'll finish this up after the break. The security officer had a laser on the target that was firing, repeatedly requested backup support to take it out, was denied. Focal Point AFR Talk.